Alright, more cards for Duelist Gale, this time Lyrilusc support. So let's begin. But first, I need to go over some cards from Animation Chronicles, with the Utopia support and some of Sherry's cards. So just some quick thoughts on Sherry's cards. Noble Knights of the Shield Bearer is for some reason a Noble Knight, even though it should really support with Sherry, but okay. It has an okay first effect that lets you banish a card from your graveyard to draw a card, and also lets itself be banished from hand or field to add a level 6 monster from your deck to your hand. Which I could only say it's okay for its second effect because the search for the level 6 can actually be quite helpful, especially with Steed White. And then we go to Horse of the Floral Knight, which on summon, you can add one light Noble Knight from your deck to your hand, and for some reason it only involves Noble Knight and not anything with Fleur, making me wonder why this is even Sherry's card. But its second effect is actually pretty useful, letting you fusion summon one monster by using this card and another card as material. Noble Knight Spearholder can actually have some use due to its normal special summon effect that could change one level 8 or lower monster you control to Flare Synchron and make it become a tuner, and the second effect is completely generic that you could actually tribute this card to add any equipped spell from your deck to your hand. Centaur Mina can special summon one level 2 or lower monster from your hand or graveyard during the main phase, which for this being a level 6 is actually quite helpful for your level 8 play. Also can negate a trap once per turn, not as relevant but pretty good, and can also destroy a card when used as synchro material for a Wind Warrior monster, which of course the archetype is filled with. And then we go to a field spell and Code the Zone. I would not even bother with this card, but it's only here because anime reasons. So it lets you destroy a monster if only one card was summoned during that turn, and then you replace it with a mass token with the same amount of stats. But it cannot attack directly, and if this card leaves the field, destroy all the mass tokens. To be honest, how often does a player summon only one monster in a turn? And then another field spell, Soulbinding Gate, has a weird condition where you can only activate this card while you have no monster and a set spell and trap card is destroyed by a card effect. Which is doable in Fleurs, but still a weird condition, especially the payoff is not even worth it because if only one monster was summoned with attack that is lower than your life point and zone is in the graveyard, you can destroy that monster and all players take 800 points of damage, which is another weird ass field spell that doesn't even match the archetype. At most, I can only say the monsters are the only things we're playing in the Flare archetype. And then to the Utopia cards for Yuma, we start off with ZW Sif on Wing, which is actually pretty good. Not only gives the equipped monster 800 attack, and you can equip this from your hand by the way. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can give that monster an additional 1600 attack, which is pretty much guaranteed to happen. But it can also act as the exceed material for your equipped monster. Sure, you're gonna have to give up the attack points, but the use of this is actually pretty good. Now the next one, ZS Orbor Sage, it's a weird one, because when it's normal summoned, you can special summon one non-light number monster from your graveyard, and then equip this card along with a Utopia to that monster. And then you give it 17 attack, but you can only make one attack during the turn you play this card. Let me ask, how often are you going to be summoning a non-light number monster in your Utopia deck? Everything involves around Utopia, which is light, and without it, the deck won't function. At most, the backup is actually number 101. But realistically, you're always going to summon Utopia, so don't even bother with this one, even if it does have its second effect that could actually double the monster's attack. But when we get to Leo Utopia Ray, which is basically a fusion between Utopia Ray and Leo Arms, it's still nice that this card is still treated as Chaos number 39 Utopia Ray, so you can use some of those equipped ZWs. This is also really good that you can actually equip one ZW from your deck or extra deck, aka you want Leo Arms, and this effect cannot be negated. And it's also good that it has a quick effect while being equipped with a ZW that you can actually negate one monster your opponent controls and the attack becomes half. Now normally this would be difficult to summon even with a rank up magic because there's lack of rank up magics for the archetype, but now with Sexo Force, this is really easy. And then with Sexo Catapult, the first effect letting you special summon a ZW or ZS monster from your hand is very helpful, especially when changing their levels from 4 to 5, making it easier to summon Leo Arms at least. And the second effect is a graveyard effect, except during the turn it was sent there. You can banish the card along with a ZW or ZS monster to target one card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is very doable because your ZW monsters are going to give your Utopia a lot of protection and massive amount of attacks if they don't actually get rid of it, and it's not too hard to send them yourself to the graveyard. But also, the first effect also is pretty helpful with the special summoning of the ZW because some of them require to be on the field to equip. But overall, the Utopia cards are actually pretty good. And now for the Lyrilusc cards themselves, our first card is Lyrilusc Barrow Canary. Level 1 Wind Wing Beast, 0 attack, 200 defense, and its effect is, if this card is in your hand, you can target one Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard, special summon this card along with that monster. But you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Exceed monsters. So this archetype's playstyle focuses on spamming a bunch of level 1s to Exceed summon and build up the overlay units along with it. So this first effect of this card lets you special summon itself along with one in your graveyard, actually builds up a lineup. And it can also be used as a comeback draw, and this effect is hard once per turn. Second effect, a win Exceed monster that was summoned using this card from the field as material gains this effect. Gain 200 attack and possession cannot switch. Okay, 200, whatever. But honestly, you only use this card for its first effect because the amount of recovery, and also it helps build up your lineup. Next, Lyrilusc Celeste Wagtail. Level 1 Wind Wing Beast, 200 attack, 0 defense, and its effect is, if this card is special summon, you can add one Lyrilusc spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Second effect, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Lyrilusc Exceed monster you control, attach this card as material. Each effect is hard once per turn. Run this at 3. First effect lets you search for your spell or trap, which is actually very helpful. And the second effect is actually very helpful for this archetype because you want to build up as many Exceed materials as possible for your Lyrilusc monster. Mainly because they get stronger for every Exceed material you have for it. Now for the extra deck, our first card is Lyrilusc Isembu Robin. Rank 1 Wind Wing Beast, 0 attack, 0 defense, requires 2 or more level 1 monsters, and its effect is, gains 500 attack for each Exceed material attached to it. Pretty much all of them have this effect, by the way. And pretty much what I mean when I say you want to build up as many Exceed materials as possible for these Exceed monsters, because they get stronger the more you have. Second effect, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can detach one material from this card, then target one of those monsters and return that to the hand. That's pretty good. Third effect, if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target one other Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Pretty good addition to the archetype, mainly because its second effect can actually disrupt your opponent's plays. Run this at most F2 of. Next, Lyrilusc Prom Thrush. Level 1 Wind Wing Beast exceeds 0 attack, 0 defense, requires 2 or more level 1 monsters, and it has the same first effect, gains 500 attack for each material attached to it. But second effect, once per turn you can detach one material from this card, then target one spell or trap card your opponent controls and shuffle that to the deck. Pretty okay. Third effect, at the start of the damage step, if another of your monster battles, you can detach any number of materials from this card. Your battling monster gains 300 attack for each material detached until the end of the turn. The only thing about this effect is that you're detaching materials from this card, which will cause it to lose attack while giving attack to the other monster. Sure, this one's probably not as useful as the other ones, but I wish this effect could actually do something better, you know, like actually negating an attack, because that's kind of a cool trade-off. At a cost of negating an attack, you're getting it to become weaker. But nope, we can't have that. Although the second effect is quite useful, it just depends on the matchup. So I would say run this at least at 1. And now to the spells, to our only spell, Lyrilusc Bird Sanctuary. It's a continuous spell, and its effect is, you can target 2 Wing Beast Exceed monsters you control, attach one of them along with all its materials to the other monster as material. And second effect, if you control an Exceed monster with 3 or more materials, draw a card. Each effect is a hard once per turn. Alright, this is actually not too bad. Your Exceed monsters build up attack for every material you have on it, so being able to transfer one of your Exceed monsters to that card can actually build up even higher attack, especially one that is barely useful. And the second effect is actually very easy to pull off, because it's very likely that you want to use at least 3 of your materials to summon one of your Exceed monsters. But even if you don't and decide to summon just 2 Exceed monsters anyway, this first effect will actually help out because you could just attach that second one to the first one, which will kind of trigger the second one. Finally, Lyrilusc Bird of the Feather. Its normal trap, and its effect is, target one Lyrilusc monster you control, change the attack of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls to that target, and their levels and ranks become 1. Well, this will be pretty funny if you have a Lyrilusc Exceed monster with no materials because they will all be 0. And even if you do have a main deck monster on the field, most of them are very low attack anyway, so this effect is actually pretty decent for this archetype. Second effect, When an opponent's monster declares an attack on your Lyrilusc monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Your battling monster's attack becomes the same as your opponent's monster until the end of this turn. So essentially, the second effect just makes your Lyrilusc monster, which is going to have weak attack usually, to be evenly matched with your opponent, causing them to commit suicide. Honestly, this is actually a pretty good trap. First effect is actually pretty good because most of your monsters are going to be low attack anyway, so using the first effect to change your opponent's attack to pretty much to a low attack can actually save you, and the second one can actually protect you as well, causing wolf monsters to commit suicide. I won't say this card is a definite 3-0 for being a trap, but I would recommend it. So that's it for the support for this archetype. What do you guys think about Rory's new cards? Honestly, I am glad that she has gained more support, as Rory and Rin got the least amount of support out of the Bracelet Girls. And I also like the playstyle of when your Exceed monsters get more materials, the stronger they get. Just personally, this is probably not my most favorite designed archetype, but I would say I am still glad to see more legacy support, especially for undersupported character archetypes. But in that, have a nice day.